Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. A very good evening.
Good evening. It is Sunday, the 21st of April, 2013. And we're going to have a busy show for you tonight. Just a few things that we're going to be talking to you about. We have our guest on tonight, actually in the studio.
In the flesh.
In the flesh. International medium, spiritual medium, Marc Impey is going to be coming in on the show in a few minutes' time. And also, later on, we're going to have Amanda from the Sovereign Independent. We're going to get Amanda on. She wants to talk about a show that's going to be happening shortly, so she'll be telling us all about that. But for the time being, Steve, let's find out about the communication channels, please.
Okay, the communication.
Put my teeth back in.
Info at OYMIreland.com for your emails during the show and during the week. We also have the guest book. No, we don't. We have the chat box. Sorry, the chat box on the website. We have some people logged in there. We're also streaming on the TNS, and you can stick questions and comments on the TNS chat box, as well as our own. Our own one is OYMIreland.com. Click on the live chat button, log in with your real name or a pseudonym, and you can pose questions for a guest, and you can chat quietly amongst yourselves as well. And also, if you want to call us on the landline, you can
give us a call on 046 927 1212.
04692711212. If you're ringing in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 in front of that. Alan.
Okay, right. Okay, last week we announced about the LCD screen and the fact that we had a dead LCD screen, and we got a lend off one temporarily from Vin and Ducky. Well, thanks a lot again for your donation. I am amazed every time something comes up and we need support to something that there's somebody out there that will come along and help us. And, well, we're not going to mention any names, but the person knows who he is, and we said that we'd give a call out and just say a big thank you to this individual that not just helped with helping us get funding for an LCD screen, but also we have obviously to pay for the repair on the broadband for the engineers. Well, that was the plan of attack, but I'll be talking about that later. So thanks again for your support for the chap who did this. A big thank you. It's a major help because, running the show as it is we don't get paid and things do cost money. And so when the screen went down, we thought we didn't know how we're going to pay for things. And, again, thanks a bit for support. Thank you for your support for doing that. A big thank you to that. Right, over to you, Steve.
Thanks very much. Right, on the unscripted script, tonight we're going to be talking about the Boston bombing, and I'm sure anyone who's been following that on both the mainstream media and also the alternative/new media, i.e. the likes of ourselves and TNS, Alex Jones and so on and so forth, will be amazed at there's just so much going on, and the official story seems to be forcing one opinion down people's neck, but yet from what we're seeing on the alternative media, not just pictures but video, and also the spoken word interview as well, we're kind of a different picture is being painted. For example, there was a chap interviewed during the week, and he did say that when he was at the marathon, he's ran, I think we might have mentioned this already, he ran marathons all over the world. Boston Marathon, New York Marathon, London Marathon. He's a seasoned runner, and he did say that it was an unprecedented amount of police and sniffer dogs at the Boston Marathon. Plus, there was announcements being made constantly over the Tannoy system, saying that it was a drill, and people, to go about your business or don't be concerned that there is a drill going on. And then, we all know what happened after that, the explosion. But even the explosion, there's a lot of pictures and video footage has come out since it all happened. One which stuck in my mind, and it's probably stuck in a lot of people's minds, people who have never seen someone with their leg blown off. The chap getting pushed along in a wheelchair, holding his leg, flesh hanging off the end of it and a bone sticking out. There's a lot of controversy about that. Seemingly this particular guy lost his legs in I can't remember what war it was, but seemingly he didn't have any legs to begin with. Well, obviously he did when he was small. But, after the war he didn't. but he was getting pushed along in the wheelchair, flesh hanging off the leg, and he's holding the leg. He didn't look in any distress. He didn't look in shock. There was also no blood dripping from the leg, and from what people have been saying, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. There was no blood dripping from the leg, so therefore, if there was no blood dripping from the leg, all the blood must have been gone. So therefore, the guy should have been dead. But there you go. That's just one, and then we have the two guys that allegedly done it. There's their own people, their own families, depending on who you ask. I think their uncle one of the uncles was saying they should be ashamed of themselves and all this carry on. But then the mother, and I think it was a father, were saying that their sons are being used as patsies. And I would, whether you believe it or not, I don't know. But definitely, from what I've been seeing on mainstream media, mainstream is kind of, it's disregarding the information that we've seen, pictures and video footage and interviews that we've seen on the internet, and all the talk about false flag. It's disregarding all that, and it's again the same as it always does with these kind of, I'm going to use this term, false flag operations. You're kind of rounded up and you're pointed in the direction of what to think. Everything else, all the other information is disregarded, and you're told this is the official line and that's all you should be looking at. So, well, I don't know what's going to happen in the end. I definitely think the American people and the people around the world are starting to wake up, because when you hear about drills going on and then something like this happens, you kind of think back to 7/7. Because seemingly there was a drill going on depicting something like what happened in 7/7 at the exact same time that 7/7 happened. But, as I say, people are starting to wake up with the help of the internet, and I know while this was all going on, the CISPA, C-I-S-P-A, Act was passed by Congress in the US of A. I don't know if that's going to start censoring the internet. It probably is. So I think we're going to have to start looking at alternative means of communication if and when this does happen. But anyway, we'll stay on the bombing for the moment, because that's kind of what we're talking about. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm very suspicious because of, say, what I've heard, what I've seen. And even, I know a lot of people don't like Alex Jones, but if you have a look at some of the videos that Alex Jones has posted up on YouTube and also on his Facebook page, it's, the man is kind of, he makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he does make a lot of sense, and that's where I'm going to end on that one. Do your own research. It's always worthwhile, as everyone who listens to us knows. Just say hello to Chris. Chris, sorry you're late, you slept it out. That's no excuse. I hope you have a note from your parents there. Anyway, Alan.
Exactly. Just on that, the Boston thing, there was a picture of a lady, and it looks like she had her leg blown off, or something pretty bad.
Yeah. And
she was on the ground, with her foot up in the air, and she was texting on her phone. Like texting help.
Updating her status, right? Was it? Now, just got me leg blown off.
Yeah. Now, when you see somebody with their leg blown off, you're in a bit of pain, I reckon. But she's just on her back with her phone in her hand.
Well, they do say that women who have given birth have a higher pain threshold, so maybe like that was, Jesus, it's a scratch. Someone's rushed over, Jesus, Mrs. A, it's a scratch, it's alright.
That's like the Monty Python sketch, Go on, just cut your leg off, come on, have another one. That's, look, I'm kind of fed up with the Boston stuff at the moment, in all honesty, I am, because, you go onto Facebook and everybody's, look, as far as I'm concerned, in my own personal opinion, it's a false flag. That's all it was. It's a false flag. And I think we know that. So, anyway.
Actually, sorry, just if I can just throw in real quick as well. James Corbett, the CorbettReport.com, he came out and he had a video out as well, talking about all false flags and how the government are doing what they're doing, governments around the world, to kind of coerce people into believing stuff and, voting a certain way. And, it's a lot of mind control going on.
Yeah. Okay, and you're going to talk about high creddy experts in mental health.
Yes, indeed I am. I'm not getting a break here at all. Yes, it seems, allegedly, we have to say allegedly because we can neither confirm nor deny this, but seemingly staff in Leinster House are learning jiu-jitsu. Why? Well, according to Max Kaiser, the banks are going to get another bailout. I think our government have said, no, it's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But according to Mr. Kaiser, and generally Max his fingers on the pulse, but he reckons another bailout is going to happen. And when it does, the government are expecting trouble. So if and when this happens, you better take your money out of the bank. Because, we all know what's going on in Cyprus at the moment. So if you have any money, no matter what it is. I mean, if you have your pension, even your pension, if you have that, cash it in, get it out, and buy gold.
Well, get it out, because if they're going to do what they did in Cyprus,
60%,
to the 60% to the rest of Europe, which is what they're planning to do, then at the end of the day, and the reason why you went over the 100,000 was because your money is insured, your savings is insured up to 100,000, and after that it's not insured. That's why you went for over 100,000, so you wouldn't have to pay out insurance. Clever people, these bankers, aren't they?
I tell you, we think they're stupid. They're not. They are. But Enda Kenny I wonder is Enda Kenny going to be learning jiu-jitsu? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to come back to that. I think I think we do need to start upping the ante and pushing out the information out there. And to be honest with you, myself and Steve, I'm sure would love to see more radio stations set up in Ireland, up and running, getting the information out there. And we said this before, and obviously we just mentioned it again. If you feel that you want to go out, you want to say something or be part of a radio station and set it up. I mean, it's quite I won't say straightforward. There's a bit of technical stuff involved, but I mean, nothing that we can't help you with. We can give you a bit of advice on if you're interested. So we have Skype. Our Skype is OYM.Ireland. So if it is something that you want to do, whether it's in Ireland or whether it's around the world, you can talk to us over Skype, and then we can point you in the right direction and give you a few pointers, and set up your own radio show and get people on, get guests on, and start getting the information out there. Let's educate people and let's wake them up.
Because it's not that difficult at all. Sure, it's not.
Well, okay. Look,
are you taking the pee?
No.
Seriously?
No. Listen.
The amount of cables that are in this place. It's a wonder you don't trip up and die or something.
Hang on. What did we start off with?
Well, to be fair, okay. We started off with one computer, I think it was a laptop, and 2 karaoke mics, Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, if you're just the one person, you could actually do it technically with one computer and a headset. You could technically do it, because I have tested this out, and it does work. Okay, so you can do it with a headset and one computer.
We just want to do it with style.
Yes. And it's a free service as well, okay? Skype is free, and the other services out there are free, so it won't cost you any money. So if you're a frustrated radio host or broadcaster and you want to get your opinion out there, I mean, by all means do it. And if we can help you, we point you in the right direction, and do it. And let's get the information out there. Let's wake these people up. Okay, and last thing on the list there, Steve, for you?
The last thing on the list, on the unscripted script, is, I think we have mentioned this before, but we're going to have to be looking, and this probably applies to all of us, we're going to have to look at an alternative to Skype, because Microsoft owns Skype, and they've recently said that they're going to record everything. Yes, everything. So we need an alternative to Skype. If anyone knows of an alternative to Skype, we would be, we'd welcome that information. Or if you're a techie programmer or something and you've written a program that's kind of, an alternative to Skype, that'd be cool as well. Because, at the end of the day, if someone does hook up, and I mean, I know Alan has said it previously, that if anyone is out there like a whistleblower and they do want to hook up with us, to kind of shoot the breeze and maybe pass on some information. The way this is kind of going now, even Skype, it'll be recorded, and obviously IP addresses and all that sort of carry on. So there'll be no anonymity. Is that? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Anonymity.
Yeah. Get the information out there. Get the whistleblowers. We just have the UWS stream was down. We just had the change of passwords on there, and we've just been given the information there from the States. So we are now live on United We Strike, going out to America. So thanks for Karen for sending all that information, Karen. If you're listening in, thanks a lot for that. We're back up. And so Skype, if there's an alternative out there, let us know, and maybe you should be looking at that, because we don't want people listening to our private conversations, especially Bill Gates.
Yeah, just to see that one there, just in on the chat from Bluebell about the new broadcasting charge. Yeah, we actually spoke about that a couple of weeks back. They're going to try and bring in this broadcasting charge. So whether you own a TV or not, you are going to be subject to this charge, because you can also receive TV now on your mobile phone, on your laptop, via Wi-Fi, etc., etc. I think that's we joked about that a few weeks back, saying that even if you don't have a car, you probably have to pay road tax because the roads are there whether you use them or not. So I don't know. Country's gone mad.
Exactly. How's your week, Steve?
Great, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't really have a lot to talk about this week because I have been, the focus of my attention, as I spoke earlier, has been the Boston bombing because I've just been focusing on that because, it's happened, it's new, it's news, it's on the mainstream, it's on the alternative. It also means that, I get a chance. The way it is with me when I'm in work in the canteen, they're always talking about football and soap operas and all this sort of stuff, and I generally just sit there, play with my phone and eat me lunch because I'm not interested in soap operas and I don't really follow football at all. So therefore, I'm kind of left out of most of the conversations, but that's fine. I don't care. I'm not lonely. It doesn't bother me.
But that's what happens, though, isn't it? I mean, when you open up and you're aware of what's going on, you do become isolated because people talk crap, and you think, I don't really want to talk about what you're talking about.
Exactly. I'd rather have an intelligent conversation where we can kind of, put our cards on the table, shoot the breeze, and something intelligent, something to get your teeth into. But Boston bombing, they were all kind of talking about that at the table during the week, so I was able to discuss it with them, and with kind of the softly, very, very gentle approach when they're kind of talking about blah blah blah, and these people done it and those people done it. I'm able to kind of just slip in a seed every so often. Just say, well, what about that? Do you reckon that could be possible? And I'm just planting seeds,
Yeah,
I'm like the truth gardener.
Yeah. We do all feel like that. A lot of us do feel like that when you are in a minority of people who are awake in your community or in your job, and people think, oh, that person, they're not interested talking about football, or they're not interested talking about, stuff that's on the TV. You think, well, the stuff that's on the TV is propaganda. Why would I be interested in talking about stuff that's not the truth anyway? I know Crown Copyright said here, to be fair, lads, you're only talking the truth. I know Crown Copyright, but the problem is there's people out there that don't want you talking the truth. They want the propaganda out there. That's the problem. That's why they try and shut you up. So, but look, you need a hard skin and, keep doing what we're doing, because the wall is coming down, the bricks are coming down bit by bit, and just keep doing it, and people will begin to wake up, especially with the way things are at the moment. But is there anything else you want to add to that week of yours?
Not a jot. However, I will say, how's your week? Because you always have an exciting week.
Do I?
You do.
I have an eventful week. I don't know whether it'll be an exciting week.
Okay, an eventful then, fine. Eventful.
Well, the universe, I'd say, has been great this week. I mean, when you're doing something where the energy is right, you're flowing downstream with the flow of the water, and everything works. You need to find your path in life. Everybody has a path in life. Everybody has a talent. And you need to find your path in life. There's no point trying to swim upstream against the water. Find your path, find what that is, and put the energy into it. And this week was a typical example of that, of things that happened which were bad, and the energy kicked in and actually, turned things around, which is really good. I mean, you heard about my antennas being robbed and the broadband being cut. Now, obviously, Marc is here at the moment, who's a international spiritual medium. So I did have a talk with Marc about this, and I asked him to see if he could get any information relating to it, and he has done. Interesting information, all right, that he's passed on. I'm not going to go into detail what it was or what it is, because you never know who's listening. But it was interesting information all the same, which I thought was quite good. And I'm just looking here to see, is there anything else on? I didn't really do much during the week, just a few things, catching up on a few things. There was one offer of a listener who said that they'd be happy to come up and pay anybody a visit that I would like them to be paid a visit. If you know what I mean.
No.
They said.
Well, by the way your eyebrows have gone up there, it looks like it's
they said
serious stuff.
They said kind of, if you suspect anybody, can you let us know, and we'll go up and have a chat with them.
And is that how they said it?
Yeah.
Or was it more like, if you know of anybody?
Yeah, it's more like that, you know. Thanks for the offer, but we won't be going down that road, but thanks again. It's much appreciated anyway. It's good to know that people care and want to see us on air, so thanks for that. But listen, that's really it for my week, and we're going to get Marc on now. Now, Marc he's come over here, and he's come over to Ireland for a bit of a break. He's a hectic schedule there back in the UK, and I knew he was coming over because I met Marc years ago in London when I lived over there, and we kept in touch, and we'd been talking to each other about spiritual and stuff and that, you know. And so he came over here for a bit of a break. But unfortunately, you know, when people get wind of you being an international spiritual medium and they want to hook up and have readings with Marc and stuff like that, so he's busy over here now. So he just, you know, and he's just busy. What can you say? So I knew he was coming over, so I said, Marc, will you come to the studio? Oh, by the way, we're back in Studio 1, just in case we didn't mention that.
Yes, we're back in Studio 1.
Yeah, back in Studio 1. Yeah, you probably knew that anyway.
Yeah.
But so we said to Marc, well, since you're coming off to the UK, will you come down to the studio and...
No, this is Ireland.
What?
This is Ireland.
Sorry. Thanks for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we are in Studio 1, are we?
And we're in Ireland,
This is planet Earth, isn't it? Okay.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, okay. So we asked Marc to come down to the studio to do an interview and talk to us a bit about the spiritual side, because I think more than ever with everything that's going on, people are, you know, turning away from the church or turning away from religion and finding their own spirituality. So Marc's going to talk to us about that. And Marc's in the studio with us now. Good evening, Marc. How are you doing?
Good evening, Alan. Good evening, Steve. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks for coming down. Well, before we kind of crack on, as I say, you've come over here for a few days, hoping to get a breakaway, because I've seen your schedule and you're like hectic over there in London.
Yeah.
But as usual, when people get wind that you're coming over, then you get nabbed and you have to do what you do for spirit, you know. But tell us about who you are, because people don't know you. So tell us about who you are and how you got involved in the spiritual side.
Well, I've been doing mediumship for about 8 or 9 years, roughly. I actually joined a development circle in those days. That's where fledgling mediums go to learn the trade as such. I flourished very fast. I was always a sensitive person when I was younger. You know, I would pick up on things or just know things, and occasionally see things. You know, and I couldn't put 2 and 2 together until I actually sat in circle and learnt what it was all about, roughly, as such sort of thing. You know. Since then, I've run circles, development circles, and I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing. Thoroughly.
Excellent. So you've been doing it for how long now?
About 8, 9 years, roughly.
8-9 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And over in the UK now, obviously the UK is different to Ireland, because over in the UK you have loads of spiritual churches over there, spiritual centres. And then over here we don't really have any. You know, there's 1 or 2 kind of isolated, maybe little offices being used as a spiritual centre, but from a kind of spiritual church point of view, there's none over here. But what you do over in the UK is you go around every week or whenever you go around and you stand up on platform. So you go into a spiritual church in front of an audience you've never met before.
That's correct.
And then the spirit just works through you, and then you just give them the information that comes out.
Yeah, as mediums we work on what we call the clairs. Clair is French for clear. Now we have clairvoyance, we can actually see spirit, whether it's objectively or subjectively within the mind or actually appearing in front of us as such. Clairaudience, clear hearing, and clairsentience, actually feeling spirit or the emotions or the pain of a heart attack or whatever sort of thing. And that's how spirit validate their passing conditions. Now,
and they're called the 5 clairs. There's 5 clairs.
There's actually two more on top of that, smelling and tasting, as such. And within Circle, of course, you develop that. Yeah. It's very important that you do that, because it's part of your communication skills as such with the spirit world.
Now, the problem that we have over here is we don't have the spiritual churches, as I said just a few minutes ago. So if people feel that they have a spiritual ability or they are seeing things, over in Ireland, what do you do? I mean, how do you look around? How do you join a development circle? You know, what do you do? Would you just, advertise or just ask around, or? Yeah.
Well, you could go on the internet, I guess, and start sort of putting it out there. Although there are some spiritual kind of shops in Dublin, I believe. Angels of Ireland, for one. And perhaps go and ask inside there. They may know a development circle, or they may run one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's probably there's a lot of angel shops and spiritual shops around, and chances are they probably know at least a meditation circle. But would you recommend that anybody that has a feeling towards that to go and do that? Because what's the benefit of them joining the circle?
Well, obviously advancing their spirituality and their ability to communicate with those in the spirit world, which is very important.
Okay.
If you've got a gift and you need to develop it, and also with that, if you know a wonderful story, you don't keep it to yourself because you want to help people.
Okay. What do you say to people that, obviously you have the likes of Darren Brown and Keith Barry, who's the Irish version of Darren Brown, and who turn around and say, oh yeah, well it's all an illusion and, blah, that it's a trick, it's a parlour trick. What do you say to people like that?
Well, they're illusionists, and that's their job. It's the sleight of the hand and the mirror and the smoke sort of thing, etc. like that. Yes, and there are people out there who can read body language. I mean, 70% of our communication skills is done through body language. However, with that etc. sort of thing, you can't beat somebody standing up on a platform and saying your father died aged 57. I got 1972. Died of a heart attack. He had one leg, one eye. Now that's not reading body language, is it?
No. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I have been to a couple of churches over in the UK just to observe, and when you see a good medium, if you go to a medium, and this is what I've seen, you go to a medium and you say, oh, I have somebody here and they have grey hair. Pretty vague, really.
Or like, could anyone take a George?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, put your hands or a Mary,
But if you get a medium who doesn't know you from Adam, and they say, I have your grandfather here, he smoked a pipe, he's got a wooden leg, he's got 4 medals, and he died in 1916 or whatever. I mean, that's pretty accurate for somebody who doesn't know you.
That is evidence.
That's evidence.
And you can't glean that from body language. No way can you.
Yeah, there's no
preposterous to
exactly.
actually put that argument up.
And of course, any good medium will actually tell you, not ask you.
Yes.
They'll tell you. They'll just turn around and tell you rather than ask you.
They may say to you, can you understand sort of thing as such, because that's what they're getting through and they're trying to sort of make sense of what's coming through. We could see it objectively that means something.
So the likes of Darren Brown and Keith Barry, obviously they have an interest in knocking spiritual mediums because at the end of the day, they make money with what they do. But you're not making any money, Mark.
No, I do many readings for free and churches for free, etc. Because it's a calling.
Yeah.
Also for them as well, with a competition, I guess.
Yeah. So your motivation for doing this is obviously not money because you don't get any.
No.
So your motivation is to help others.
Yes, definitely.
Right. Okay. And Keith Barry and Darren Brown's motivation is to
make money.
Make money. So it's
and tour the world.
And tour the world. So it's in their interest, obviously, to knock what you do because obviously they make money from it, and it's entertainment, which means they get paid for.
Yeah.
So okay. So mediums who are out there and mediums who do it in, I suppose you call it love and light, don't you?
Yeah, empathy, yeah.
Empathy. And for helping people, right? So they're there helping people who are feeling vulnerable and want support. And Darren Brown and Keith Barry are there because they're making money and they see it as a bit of fun and entertainment. Right. And I think, losing family and hoping to get some kind of peace when that person passes over, I don't actually see that as entertainment.
No.
I think especially if the person's pretty upset about
someone to draw a line and move on.
Yeah. I think if somebody's moved over and you want to just find out about it, I think these people like Darren Brown and Keith Barry who do this and see it as fun and slagging people off, I think that's
no, just interject here because actually in the Sun newspaper a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, or maybe a month ago, there was a centre spread inside with Darren Brown, and he was rubbishing mediums as such, and he said, like, before the big mediums go onto the stage or platform, they move among the crowds and ask questions. Now, I've been to see some of the so-called celebrity mediums. I've worked with a couple as well in the past as such, and no way do they do that. They just walk out on the stage and off they go. Same with me. If I go to a spiritualist church, I perhaps know the person who rung me up, and maybe a couple other people, but maybe give 12 messages in that evening to people I don't know. Now, when it gets to the point when they're perhaps crying, you know you've hit the raw nerve. You know it's evidence of survival of their loved ones. Because where am I getting it from? I'm not mind reading.
Yeah. I mean, I've had one or two readings in the past, and, you know, for somebody to come out who doesn't know me from Adam and tell me something that they wouldn't possibly know. I mean, one medium told me something about my family, which I had to ring up. My family from the UK, you know, and you did the same thing, Mark. You did the same thing. And I had to ring up and confirm it with my family, because I didn't know the answer.
Well, the same thing actually happened to me.
And you did that with me anyway.
I did a church in, where was I now? Chesham, up in Buckinghamshire, outside London. And did the service, very good service. People actually clapped afterwards, which was lovely to, you know, spirit, or a round of applause was the main thing, really, spirit. And the secretary of the, medium secretary of the church actually said to me, I'll give you a reading, Mark. So we sat down, and she said, I've got your mother here. And your mother's saying the name Elizabeth. Oh, yeah, I can tell you that was my grandma's name, Elizabeth Lizzie Bessie. And the medium continued saying to me, well, also Uncle Albert on your dad's side. I thought, well, no Uncle Albert. You know, a bit perplexed by this sort of thing. Who's that sort of thing? Well, 5 days later, I went round to see my dad, and I said, who was Uncle Albert? Or was it Arthur? I can't remember, one of the two anyway, some time ago. Oh, that was your great uncle kind of thing. I said, what do you mean, never heard of him? He said, well, he actually joined the army in 1935, and he was the son of your granddad, sister, Mary. So how could you... It chucks the mind reading out the window. It really does. So I knew nothing about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, I know that, you know, when you work on platform, there's a couple of things that can be very irritable, where people sometimes don't see what goes on. And I've seen this myself, and it must be very upsetting for any mediums who are working in Love and Light, and basically they will call out and go, I have a Jim or a Joan or whatever, and they'll give out the information, and nobody takes it, and then they move on. And then after the show, this person comes up and goes, oh, that was for me, but I didn't want to put my hand up because I was a bit embarrassed.
Well, I can tell you a funny story about that. I was working at Walthamstow Spiritual Church, way over in East 17, way up in a lovely church that is. And I come to a woman and said, gave her the message, and I said, your husband's saying number 11. Now, is it a date or a door number? Oh, don't know that. And she was pondering and sweating over it a little bit. Oh, no, I can't take it, you know. So I moved on to someone else, another message came through, and all of a sudden she leapt out of her seat. The previous woman said, number 11, that's where I live. So I said to her, well, you sure you know where you live? Get your way home, sort of thing. But yeah, that's the sort of thing that happens. People become a bit blank when you give them a message, because there's so much emotion.
Yeah.
People are tied up and they want to know this. And
that's right.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, the medium's feeling, oh, but that's the information I'm getting.
Yeah.
And then people are looking at the medium going, oh, I don't think he's very good. And then they come after and go, oh, I didn't want to say anything, but that's for me. And you think, why didn't you say that? Because it just validates. But you do have a great story, you told me earlier, of you went to a spiritual centre, and tell us about the reading with the dog food.
Oh, the dog food, yeah. Sometimes spirit will work in symbols, or just show you something visually, and you have to put two and two together. It's one of their ways of communicating, obviously. It's like, you know, and you've got to interpret what they mean. Now, I was working in a church in Hayes, and come to a woman, and all of a sudden in my head I was shown a tin of dog food and a pie. What's this like? Put two and two together. Hello, madam, can you understand somebody eating a dog food pie? She went bright red. Yes, I gave it to my husband because he hacked me off. All of a sudden I got the words, and he come back for more. Yes, he loved it.
Dog food. God. You know, so when you have something obscure like that Mark wouldn't possibly know, then it's just incredible, you know?
Yeah, there's also another funny story. I was working up in, or serving spirit, should I say, it's not really work, up in North London, Islington, Hornsey Road. North London Spiritual Church, lovely church. Come to a woman up there and said, I've been shown a red blanket and an aeroplane, and spirit were laughing. I thought it was funny, and so I said, can you understand that? She said, oh my God, she went bright red. I fell asleep on an aeroplane, they put a red blanket on me, and I stole it. It shows how much spirit know and they're with us.
Yeah, definitely, they're around.
Things like that, you know, and they've got a sense of humour. They are still people.
But, okay, let's look at the history.
Yes.
Where did it all start? Where did it all come from? Because people probably don't know how spiritualism came about. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, there's always been spiritual contact from time immemorial, going back to ancient times. Even in ancient Rome, a boy or a girl would be assigned spirit protectors or spirit people when they were born. That's what they believed. Now, the male spirit protector was called a genius, and the female was called a Juno. But obviously we know about the Ides of March predictions, etc., sort of thing, and other things through history. And actually, in 1848, two sisters, Margaret and Kate Fox, who lived in Hydesville. Now, Hydesville was just outside New York City, and they'd become aware of rappings and bangings, a phenomena in their house. Their father was obviously concerned about this and got neighbours in. Now, one of the neighbours actually hit on the idea, why don't we sort of like one knock for yes and two knocks for no? And this went on like this, and they eventually made contact. They made contact with a peddler, the spirit of a peddler, who claimed he had been murdered in the house some years before. Now, during excavations down in the cellar, a peddler's tin was found. Sometimes later, when they was doing building work in the cellar, the skeleton of a male was found as well, male person as such. Now, obviously, over time, the Fox sisters become quite a phenomena, and they were doing seances with levitation, tables lifting off the ground, etc., and bangs and taps, etc., and they were tested. A lot of the skeptics said, oh, it's the kneecaps clicking and that.
Kneecaps?
Yeah, that's how ridiculous it gets, sort of thing. But they were monitored, and was found not to be so. Spiritualism actually spread quite quick, and even Abraham Lincoln made contact with his a dead son, I believe, was called Michael, through another medium, as such. So it was pretty spreading quite well. Now, during World War I, spiritualism actually took off quite a lot, because obviously it was a terrible time where people were losing people left, right, and centre, which is really, really sad sort of thing. And mediumship was flourishing in those days.
Yeah, okay. Well, I also heard as well that, you just talked about Lincoln. I actually heard the story that Queen Victoria, when her husband died, she got a young medium in, and then your man, Thomas Brown, is it Thomas Brown?
That's right,
He took over, he found he was gifted, and he took over. But maybe he took over other things as well, and not just the spiritual side, because there's a few questions there with her and him. But from a spiritual, she did get that medium in to talk to her dead husband.
I believe it was a 13-year-old medium.
That's right, she was a young girl, young girl.
Yeah. And you have other people, other characters within the spiritualist movement. We have Leonora Piper. She must have been the most well-known medium of her day, and she was investigated. Now, Leonora was an American medium who travelled well across Europe. Piper would give messages concerning childhood events and memories and conversations of those days. One of the biggest evidential things was actually giving the inscription within a ring that a mother had given to her son, and the ring had been lost many years before. Word for word, the inscription was repeated by Leonora.
Fantastic, okay. And obviously there's other people in history that have been famous. Do you want to touch base on them briefly?
Yeah, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Sir Oliver Lodge, they were both skeptics originally, and I know definitely sort of Sir Oliver Lodge was involved in science, etc. It got to the point where Conan Doyle accepted spiritualism after 20 years studying, roughly, and did lecture tours on subjects. He was that convinced that there is an afterlife, such, And Sir Oliver Lodge lost his his son, Raymond, in the First World War, and wrote a book called Raymond, Communications with Raymond.
Wow. And I believe there's another chap that David Wilcox talks about a lot called Edgar Casey. And Edgar Casey,
sleeping medium,
as a well-known medium, and the information that comes across. And so check out Edgar Casey as well. And he did a lot of predictions for the future as well, But is there anything else you want to talk about on the history of that, Mark?
Yes, Helen Duncan is actually quite considered as a martyr within spiritualism. She was a working-class woman from Edinburgh, and in 1944, the seance she was given was busted by the police. She was arrested under the Witchcraft Act of 1735. Now, at the Old Bailey, the prosecution claimed that Duncan had used a white muslin sheet, shall I say, to impersonate the spirit forms. Now, there's a thing called ectoplasm that actually looks like that, which is produced from a medium's mouth, etc., and spirit actually step inside and form shape within that, as such.
So hang on, you're saying this stuff comes out of a medium's mouth?
I'll get to that point in a minute,
Yeah,
though.
okay.
Yeah. Now, they claim she swallowed it. I mean, if she'd have swallowed it, excuse me, she'd have choked to death. It'd probably come back as a message, as such. A lot of people turned up in her defence, some well-prominent people within society, yet she was in prison for 6 months. Now, due to damage done to her by the cloth, which was ectoplasm rushing back into her body, due to that police raid, Helen spent most of the time in prison hospital during that time. Now, later, at another séance, a sailor materialises during the Second World War, and a mother who was sitting within the séance recognised this as her son. The sailor gave information about HMS Barham sinking, and as news of this hadn't been released to the public yet as such, the authorities found out about it when the mother actually phoned up and asked about HMS Barham, where her son served on. And obviously Duncan had a visit from the Admiralty office wanting to know how she'd come by this information as such, and obviously D-Day was approaching, and that they didn't want any information getting out as such. Her arrest was made 3 weeks later, and upon her release, Mrs. Duncan resumed her séances. In 1956, the police once again raided one of the séances, grabbed hold of an ectoplasm figure. Obviously, this caused more harm to her as it rushed back into her body.
Yeah.
She was taken to hospital, and within a few weeks, she had died from shock.
That's incredible.
Yeah, she's considered as a martyr in spiritualism for,
Let's talk about this ectoplasm, because you don't hear obviously much about this ectoplasm. It's something that was really in the older days, where the older spiritual generation was dealing with it. Talk about that. What is it, and what happens? Tell us about it.
Well, that's actually within what we call physical circles. With circles, development circles, there are a number of circles. I'll just run through them very quickly.
Yeah.
There's what we call an open circle, and this is with what we call mental mediumships, the clairvoyance, etc., I'm working with that. Now, a lot of the open circles are run in spiritualist churches, and people can come and go, not turn up for another 3 weeks, this sort of thing. They are fantastic in that it gives you a dip in the toe in the water to see, what mediumship's all about, as such. But the energy changes all the time. You just don't know who's walking in and sitting in that circle as such. So they are good for that. The second kind of circle is what we call a closed circle, which circle of white light is, which I run. And it's by invite only. You'd have an experienced medium there, and people would turn up every week. They still expect to turn up whether they're dead or alive, maybe in spirit. It's just a joke, by the way, as such. And they're taught meditation, which is the key of the tuning to spirit, because their vibration's higher than ours. Yeah. We raise our spirit and they slightly lower theirs to match in and connect. Yeah. We do various little workshops. And
tell me something, can we all do it?
Yes, within various degrees. Now, people are born, you may be born a fantastic singer, you may be born an intermediate kind of singer and need to practice, or you may be born tone deaf and can't sing like me.
Okay.
I can't say I would curl paper if I sang as such. Some people are natural, but most people are kind of intermediate and they need to develop. Now, going on to what you was asking about ectoplasm, in the old days we had what we called physical mediumship. This was where mediums would develop over weeks and weeks the energy with their sitters, and it was compulsory to turn up every week.
Okay. And
eventually you would have spirit apparitions appearing, levitations, things floating around the room as such. You'd have discarnate voices, names being given, and ectoplasm, which actually comes from people, the medium's mouth, forms, and spirit actually step inside it, and you can see faces, etc. Now, Minnie Harrison was quite a good exponent of this, and her Aunt Ag used to appear regularly way back in the 1950s within this closed development circle and that. But many a time, spirit can just appear by materialising. This is your granny at the end of the bed sort of situation. Wake up in the morning, And
can I just point out something with this? You mentioned about a physical circle, and obviously this is people going on a regular basis and tuning in, right?
Yeah.
Now, when Keith Barry and Darren Brown do their bit, they're doing it in front of an audience for entertainment and making money, right? But these things like the ectoplasm and the levitation are all taking place in a closed room with people, no cameras, nobody's making money, nobody's trying to gain from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely done our love and light in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to ask yourself, you know, when they like to keep Barry and Darren Brown turn around and go, oh yeah, like it's all fake. Why would a group of people go into a room where they're not making any money, there's no photographs, they're not trying to do anything other than work with spirit?
Mm-hmm.
Why would people do that?
Well, it would make sense, would it, if you just turned up to make believe every week sort of thing. And also as well, that a lot of the mediums producing ectoplasm were tethered to chairs. A bit kinky, I know, these days, but it was to actually stop any fraud as such.
Yeah.
So they couldn't move, they're blindfolded, their legs were tied to the chair and their arms were tied to the chair so that there's no trickery. So obviously in the past there was the odd sort of, you know... you get in all walks of life. You get bogus doctors and proper doctors and et cetera, and you know, same with spirit stuff.
You're always going to get that. Yeah. You're always going to get your bad apples in the barrel.
True, yeah.
But you know, what people have to realise is that these development circles, they meet say once a week, and they work together to work with spirit, and they experience what they experience.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for money or entertainment or ego or anything.
No.
You know, I mean, so people should remember that, really, that this is what these illusionists are trying to say, that it's all a con. But why would these people meet every week and do this?
Because they're developing spiritually.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's
they're
what I mean.
Inquisitive minds who want to know, is there an afterlife?
Yeah.
You know? And based on the evidence, and they're actually photos of the ectoplasm, etc., maybe Darren Brown and the others should go and sit within a physical circle and see what it's all about, instead of just coming out with unbackable quotes.
Exactly, yeah, I think they should do it. Steve, we're going to go off to the questions now. I have a few questions coming in. Take it away.
Yes, we have a few questions. It's all good information. Mark, I think Johnny originally posted in the question there several moments ago, what's your opinion on Darren Brown programmes on Channel 4? One was about a medium, the other was a ghost hunter, and Johnny E is of the opinion that Darren Brown is of a scientific fraternity disproving everything of the paranormal. I think you've pretty much answered that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris says he went... Chris says, I don't know if Chris is male or female, went to see Derek Acora in the Helix. I've never heard Derek Acora, but Chris's opinion is a faker.
Derek, can I just come on them two questions?
Of course you can. You have the mic, go right ahead.
The word paranormal, I mean, anything that we don't understand is deemed as paranormal, otherwise it's normal. Yeah. And just because we don't understand it doesn't mean there isn't an explanation for it. We just haven't found it yet. The same way that we said 500 years ago the world was flat, until science told us, well, it's actually not, it's round. So... you know, from a spiritual point of view, this has been happening like a long time. Mark?
Well, science is only as advanced as our understanding of it.
Exactly.
We're discovering new things every day, and with quantum mechanics or
quantum physics.
Quantum physics, you know, parallel universes and antimatter and that sort of thing. The scientific understanding is going round to there is possibly another existence, spiritual. You know, makes sense, and the spiritual world actually interpenetrates this world. And the medium will tune through that to bring out information. But I'm not going to rubbish any medium as such. You know, they would do what they're supposed to do as such. You know.
Okay, next question, Steve.
Okay, another one from Chris. Hi lads, could you ask Mark his views on reincarnation? If you reincarnate, then we would not be able to come back and communicate, or could we?
The ball's actually out on this argument. Some mediums believe in reincarnation and some don't. But the understanding of a reincarnation as such is that when you do come back, if you do come back, and it's not often, many hundred years pass by, so you're forgotten. Does that make sense?
Well,
I hope it makes sense to Chris.
Yeah, well, I heard that was a generational thing. Yeah. It's like when you come back 3 generations further down the line.
Yeah. You have a choice to come back.
That's why if you go and get a reading, chances are you'll get your grandfather, but you won't get your great grandfather because maybe reincarnation has taken place. That's just my understanding of it. Next question, Steve.
Right, next question. Next question is from Johnny E. Johnny's wondering, what is Mark's opinion on channeling the Galactic Federation of Light and Ascension?
Well, it's not something I don't think... You haven't actually done any of that?
Channeling, I believe, is usually ascended masters like Christ, Buddha, etc. and that, but I don't personally do that. I would contact work with your granny or your uncle or your aunt or your little child who's passed the spirit as such.
I think, I've seen Marc actually on platform, and Marc is what I call a meat and two veg kind of medium, and I mean that in a nice way. With mediums, we know there's kind of people into the angels and all that kind of stuff, but Marc is more into the evidence as a medium. He wants to show the evidence. He wants to give people the evidence, and he can understand, the channeling and all, and has been involved in that, and has done a lot of that in his experience. But I think it's fair to say that you're basically focused on the evidence and giving people the evidence.
It's evidence of survival. That their loved ones talk about what they've been doing recently, that their loved ones on Earth, of course, and what they've been doing, etc. And also they explain how they passed the spirit, perhaps what day they passed the spirit, and what they passed of, and what their last recollections of their Earth life were, and other things like that, which is evidence of survival. Now, I don't know where it's coming from. It's not me making up or mind reading, so where is it coming from? And I feel love and emotions coming from the spirit working through my clairsentient feeling as this message is being relayed, or message is relayed. A medium's job is to prove evidence of survival. Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, all of the listeners listening to the show, if somebody comes up to you, like if a medium comes up to you and tells you something, they don't know you, and they tell you something about yourself that they wouldn't possibly know, where does that come from? They're not reading your body language. They don't know you.
Reading your blog.
Yeah, reading your blog. That's probably what it is, on the blog. Right, Steve.
Last question. Another one from Chris. Chris is a man. I'm guessing, because Chris's wife would like to know Marc's opinion on Reiki, as she has just got her master's.
Brilliant. Yep. That's my opinion. Very good. Brilliant. Healing. Yeah.
Okay, is that all you're saying, Anna?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you done healing before?
I've done a bit of Reiki before. I haven't gone as far as Chris's wife perhaps has gone. We have various forms of healing, spirit healing, and what we call magnetic healing, which is from your life energies as such. You think of all the famous healers in the past, like Jesus, etc. I felt the energy go out of me who touched my garment, things like that. That gives an example of energy.
Okay, brilliant. We're getting questions coming in left, right and centre here,
Lovely.
So we're just going to have a look around there. Any more questions coming in there, Steve, at the moment?
No, just one just popped into my head for Marc. The little device, well, it's not a device. It's the orgonite stone. Any opinions, or have you seen any information or looked into the orgonite?
Marc hasn't. I've actually talked to Marc about the orgonite stone. It's something that I'll touch base with him on.
Right. Yeah.
But it's another kind of process of changing the negative into a positive. Mm-hmm. We have it up there. They were given to us by Colin, who was going around the country gifting telephone masts to change the negative energy to positive.
Well, I can only speak for myself in that I will work with spirit and with spirit guides alone as such sort of thing. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing I'm interested in is proving evidence of survival as a medium, and that is my role as a medium as such. Whereas crystals and other things come in, they're a bit like on the fringe for me personally. I'm a spiritualist medium, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, spiritualist medium. And this is not in any way religious, is it? I mean, is this a religious thing, or is it, because at the end of the day, we all know that what went on with the church over here in Ireland anyway.
Yeah, well, that's done by humans, wasn't it?
Yeah, and people are moving away from the church. And any time you mention, I think people get confused with spirituality and they think, religion, but it's not. I mean, I think religion and God, or the source, if you want to call it that, are two different things. Universal energy are two different things. I think it was mankind that got religion and stuck it in with that and said, right. And
tribalism, in a way.
Exactly, for control of the people. I mean, I think at the end of the day. But I like the idea that, and I'm sure you've come across people that everybody has this ability in some way. I mean, say for example, and we've all done this.
Yeah.
We've been in the house and we think of somebody, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's that person on the end of the phone.
It's a sixth sense.
Sixth sense. Or you're in the car and you're just about to say to somebody to pull down the window or knock off the heating, whatever, and they go ahead and do it. So would you say that they're linking, or something going on there?
Yeah. Linking, definitely. I mean, talking about religion, spiritualism accepts all religions, You see Catholics sitting in spiritualist church, Sikhs, Jews, people who are just interested, and all types of people. It's universal, whereas religion has a belief. Spiritualism doesn't have a belief. It knows through the evidence provided.
Right. Okay. And I find that spiritualism, and what I've seen spiritualism to be, is it's taking all the good bits and leaving all the bad bits behind. But that's just my own opinion from what I've experienced. But that's just my take on it.
Well, no one's ever gone to war over spiritualism, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's just a pity there's not other churches or centres over here in Ireland, because I'm sure a lot more people would be into it and they'd get involved in it.
Yeah.
I would recommend people go and at least have one reading to settle your own mind. Maybe what we need to do is talk about what, if they do decide to go for a reading, what they should be looking for and what to avoid.
Well, there's an old saying, never feed the medium. I mean, if you fed me, I'll probably go bang. Need to lose some weight. But what I mean by that is you wouldn't walk in and start feeding the medium information about your loved one in spirit all your life. Now, a medium's job is actually give you the information from spirit side. So therefore, they would tell you what they're receiving and what the spirit person is saying. They may say to you, can you understand, etc., 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 because that's what they're being shown, and they're trying to interpret what's coming through. So it could be actually a symbolic thing or an item as such.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously when you say don't feed the medium, i.e. when you go in, give them your name and basically shut up after that, and then let the medium carry on, because if they're worth the salt, they'll actually be able to give you the information rather than trying to pull it from you.
Yeah, as I said before, a medium's job is to prove evidence of survival of a loved one in spirit, or loved ones in spirit as such, and bringing that evidence forward makes it real.
Okay, is there anything that you need to tell people that they might see on TV or mediums doing which they might not understand? I mean, I'll give you an example which I've kind of looked into, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently when you see mediums talking to spirit, because the vibration is so fast, they have to say, they ask again, oh, can you give us that again? Because their vibration is so fast, because we are physical beings, so our vibration is denser and slower, that they have to go and ask again. And people might be saying,
you get into science then with the vibration slower.
I mean, we have talked
true.
about
atoms
this.
And neutrons spinning.
Yeah, we have talked about this on the show before, that we are energy. And we are vibrate. I mean, atoms vibrate. Everything that's around us, it's all energy. And because we're in a physical body, that we're actually vibrating slower, and spirit is faster. So when the medium on stage goes, oh, sorry, I didn't get that, say that again.
It's come through very fast because the vibration is very fast. Now it could be a sounding name. It could be a sounding name sort of thing. So it could be Claire or Clara or something like that sort of thing. But sometimes you do get the whole name, but sometimes you will get just perhaps the beginning of it, because you get a snippet of it basically, and that's how spirit kind of works. So through meditation, if you don't do anything else, meditate.
Okay, meditation very important.
Is the link.
It's the link.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk to you about spiritual rescues at the moment. Because I know that you've done a couple, and I know it's not probably your area, but I know you've been involved in doing a couple. Not so much examples of what you've done, but why spirits need to be rescued.
Well, a lot of people, when they pass the spirit, may pass in tragic circumstances. You remember the film Ghost? Similar sort of, and that's just a film. It's based a little bit on reality as such, and spirits can come stranded. They want to go to a light as such, and obviously that they see human beings as lights, because we all give off vibration and light, etc. as such, including the auric field, which can be photographed through Kirlian photography. So they're trapped, or they could be very materialistic and want to stay in the house they used to live in, and that's why sometimes you see things moving in houses. Like the lady used to have a pot over there, so she moves it to the other side. When you put it over that side, when you come in, it's moved.
Okay.
As such, So spirit rescue is actually moving spirit on into the light, into the world of spirit, and this is done usually in groups. And the spirit, someone may go into trance, and the spirit actually connects through that trance, and you would move them on through to the white light, world of spirit. This involves spirit guides and angels working with us as well.
Okay.
Such.
Right, tell us about the difference between an Ouija board and a spirit board.
Okay. Well, it's got its bad name, really, I guess, because kids rush home from school. Let's do the Ouija board, such. Down it goes. Curtains pulled, candle lit. Off they go. Who's there? Adolf Hitler or Stalin, something like that, With everything we do, whether it's mediumship, meditation, healing, or a tool like a Ouija board, we use prayer of protection before and after, because you don't know what you're letting through, and you need to close the door after you. Exactly, sort of thing. Now, with the spirit board, it's usually done in love and light, and like attracts like. As such, it's usually done within a group, and spirit will come through. Now, we've done that before, and my guides come through time and time again, working with me, and at times the glass has actually moved on its own, and without us asking questions, the guide will actually start talking in conversation through the glass, as such. But like with all things, as I say, you've got to be careful. You've got to think of protection. Now, we have spirit guides. We have a main guide who's with us before incarnation, and we talk about what purpose, what lessons we're going to learn within this life. They're there with you all the time. You're kind of like your best buddy.
Yeah.
They love you uncontrollably as such, And what we call a gatekeeper guide. Now, this gatekeeper guide helps protect us whether we're in trance or doing any sort of spiritual work as such. And then we may have other guides that come and go. Whether we're doing medical things, we may attract a healing guide or some other sort of guide. And that. Now, when the student's ready, especially in circles, development circles, you'll get a new guide. The old ones talk what they need to talk and they move off, and the new guide who's got more understanding, wisdom, call it what you will come in and work with you. As such. Now, guides can be anything, and sadly these days a lot of guides seem to be Red Indians for some reason. Now, that's irrelevant. A guide's there to do a job, and that's all they're really interested in. I know a fellow who's actually got an air hostess in spirit as a guide, believe it or not.
Wow.
And obviously a knowledgeable person, this
yeah,
person
of
was.
course.
You could have a dustman as a guide, it doesn't really matter, but people like to invent exotic things,
yeah,
like Cleopatra. The amount of people who got a guide as Cleopatra, poor girl must have her work cut out.
Yeah.
And
of course,
a bit romantic in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your guide, would you say your guide is your kind of, your gut feeling? When people kind of have a gut feeling on something, and they either follow their gut feeling,
I would say that's your sixth sense.
That was your sixth sense,
yeah,
okay. Yeah. Because I have
intuition, etc.
I have been in situations where I have believed, I've went with my gut feeling, and I haven't gone with my gut feeling. And, I've seen the results of both, which I find quite interesting. Now, if people pass over to the spirit world, do they just become all positive and happy, or do they, what happens when you pass over? Do they keep the personality, or what happens there?
Personality is kept intact, very much so. Now, I want to talk about near-death experiences, NDEs, a little bit later, and Dr. Raymond Moody as such. But when you pass over to the world spirit, you go over with the same personality, etc. Only over time you learn things. Now, you're naturally attracted to the person you are, to the level you go to, like attracts like, you know. Now, when people say, oh, I want to go to hell when I die because it's nice and warm down there, I'm sorry, but the lower levels aren't very nice places.
So the guys who actually, or whoever did my antennas on my broadband, will be going down to the lower levels.
Maybe people like Hitler or something like that, as such.
Okay, we've got more questions coming in there. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. I have two comments. I'm going to read those first. I have two questions as well, but I have two comments, just to see if either of you want to comment on the comments. This one is from Obi-Wan from the TNS chat, and Obi-Wan says, development circles playing with thought forms within the conscious mind reality. Anything on belief is false. I don't even understand that.
I haven't a clue what he's talking about. You're going to have to clarify that.
Has this person ever sat in a development circle, a proper development circle?
Well, that's,
I don't know, Obi-Wan, have you ever sat in the circle?
Yeah, see...
Be honest now.
Yeah.
Be honest, yes.
Yeah, okay, Steve.
And Bella Dodd, I don't know who Bella Dodd is, but this, I kind of got a shock when I read this. Your show is working for Church of Satan, Antichrist, the father of lies. Open your mind is open to the occult, closed to traditional Catholicism, the one true church. You can't serve two masters.
I don't.
Wow.
I don't serve the church. I'm not religious. This is my own personal opinion. I walk away from religion because religion is man-made to control man, and that's just my own personal opinion. And, you know, the amount of people killed throughout history under the name of religion, it was unbelievable. So, I mean, the evidence is there in itself, but that's just my opinion, not OYM's, just my own opinion.
I think it's a little bit blinkered, that is, you know. You should open your mind, really, and look at other things, you know. Why be in a straitjacket of one sort of understanding, you know? I mean, Christ was the most fantastic medium and healer, and actually appeared in rooms with the disciples after he'd been crucified, so that's actually an apparition.
Yeah, it's...
Twice. Read your Bible.
Exactly, and, you know... At the end of the day, any organisation that tells you how to live your life, you should walk away from. I think we're all intelligent enough to know what's right and wrong. We don't need an organisation to tell us that. And that's the problem with organised religion. But, yeah, Steve, next one.
Okay, next question is from Agent. Agent is wondering, Mark, if animals have souls.
Yes, definitely. I did a reading today, and a lady's... father came through from spirit. He gave his name as Bill. She confirmed as such, and I said, Bill's got Sooty and Sweep with him. And I thought, what, glove puppets? And she started crying. I said, who's Sooty and Sweep? You know, she said, Sooty and Sweep were my two cats when I was young.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay,
Gave the names as well.
There you go.
Okay, and Bluebell is wondering, can you ask, what about the spirit whispering in your ear?
You mean like clairaudience, words coming in? Well, clairaudience is one of the abilities to actually hear spirit as such, you know. Obviously, we've got free wills, and spirit should respect what we want. If you don't want it, tell them to go away and stop bothering you, basically. You are in control. God has given you that gift of being in control.
Excellent. And the last one in is also again from Chris. If the spirit coming through is evil or demonic, how can it be kept out? Will it respect your protection?
It has to, because the light has won. You are in control, you know, and like attracts like. If you're a good living person with morals, etc., you've got nothing to worry about. But if you're into drugs, black magic, etc., like will attract like. Most of the spirits work in God's love and light, and we are protected, as I said, by gatekeeper, guides, and other guides, and of course the angelic realms as well.
And is it true what I read about that? If you are taking the likes of drugs and, you know, take a lot of alcohol,
mind altering, yeah.
It reduces your vibration, which opens up a channel to possibly being affected by negative energies.
Yeah. Some negative energies, we call them psychic vampires.
Yeah.
Not actually vampires who come and suck blood out of you as such, but they will attach to you. And they breed on your fear, your negativity as such.
And we have talked about this on the show. We had Miles Johnston on talking about the jinn and the energy that the jinn have and what they do. So this kind of confirms as well about the negative energy. Now, what can people do if they feel the presence that they're not happy with in their house? I mean, they're concerned. What can they do immediately? I mean, as you say, is it a case that, you know, you can just tell them if that person, like, put this way, if somebody comes into your house and you don't want them there, would you say the same thing with the spirit? Get out.
Get out in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell them to get out.
It's not always spirit. I mean, I think a lot of this is overplayed quite a lot. It could be a thing what we call residual energy. You know, when you walk in a room and there's a bad atmosphere in there, there may have been an argument in there or a violent scene previously. Now, residual energy is actually picked up by objects around, sort of thing, stuff like that. So that's what you're actually picking up, residual energy of a negativity. The same with an object, the thing we call psychometry, where you hold an object, perhaps a ring, and you can glean history from it because it's telling a story. With the residual energy, it's picked up as such. With ghosts, that's another one. A ghost is actually residual energy of a time tape being played over and over again, of an occurrence, a battle, or a certain person. And
so the difference between a ghost, it's residual energy, but with spirit, there's interaction with spirit.
Yeah, residual energy, you can't communicate with a ghost, residual energy, but with a spirit apparition of grandma, you can talk and chat. Or whoever.
And as you just said there, so when you see a medium asking for your keys or your wallet and stuff like that, your wallet, hope he doesn't have a balaclava on.
Nothing in mind.
You know, you're using a process called psychometry.
Psychometry, yeah, where an object will soak up the residual energy, the memories, call it what you will, from it.
Okay, and you can read the energy from that.
Also, a lot of the psychic stroke mediums will work with the police and trace where bodies have been put, etc., or in murder cases. This is well documented. I won't go down that road because it's known as...
Well, it's funny you should say that, and I just want to say this quickly. There was a precedent set a few years ago where a medium's evidence was used in a court of law. Which we found in America, we found fascinating that their evidence was used in a court of law. Now, I know there's police, some police constabularies, I won't say that word.
It's a bit too long, isn't it?
Various sections of the police who will actually use psychic mediums psychics or spiritual mediums, to actually try and help them. When they just have no other clues, they'll say, just get a spiritual medium in and
when
see
they've hit a brick wall, and it's been used many a time, as such. I mean, I won't go into detail because it's well documented, so all you've got to do is look it up on the internet perhaps, or read a few books about the subject,
Yeah. Steve?
Yeah, another question in from Agent, and it's funny, me and Agent were sharing the same wavelength or frequency now at the moment, because I was just going to ask Mark about the pineal gland, because we've heard a lot about the pineal gland, and it's very important in communicating with your higher self, and the fact that we're heavily fluoridated in this country through the water fluoridation, that it calcifies the pineal gland, so therefore it's kind of, it's not helping us. But Agent wants to know, can you ask Mark anyway about the pineal gland? Is it safe to open? I'm guessing he doesn't mean chop his head off and open it.
Take it out. Well, apparently it's the size of a walnut, but obviously if fluoride is damaging it, then we've got problems. Pineal gland is usually linked to clairvoyance, clear seeing, with the third eye chakra, things like that. This is where we can use remote viewing, which we can see what the layout of somebody's house looks like inside. For instance, I do that in readings. Can you understand the bed's in the middle of the room, and round it there's this and that, and in the corner there's this cupboard, etc., sort of thing. Or seeing spirit entities, as such.
And remote viewing, we know that the CIA was involved in the 60s.
Yes.
There was a lot of people trained as remote viewing. There's another question that's coming on TNS, and it says, OYM, has Mark any evidence other than hearsay? Any of this is anything other than hearsay of alleged people looking for answers? Well, I can kind of vouch for Mark because I've been there when he's done it, and I've seen it. And I'm the world's worst skeptic. I'm an open-minded skeptic, and people know me as being an open-minded skeptic.
You tell Alan what time it is, and he's still looking at his watch.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I've seen Mark do this and give information to people that he's never met before, and people actually getting upset. Not in a nice way, saying that,
upset in a nice way.
In a nice way, that they're getting confirmation of something from, a message from spirit. So I've been there. I've seen Mark do it, and he does it. Obviously, if you look at the list of shows, we'll be doing his website later, and he's doing this every week and helping people every week. So to say it's hearsay when I've actually seen him do it, and thousands of people have seen him do it in front of audiences and give information that you wouldn't possibly know, it's not really hearsay.
The only thing I would say is perhaps go to spiritualist churches and listen to some of the messages. If they're true, then that's good. Obviously it's not generalisation, and I can only speak for myself and the evidence that comes forward. But the stuff that comes through is so intricate.
Yeah.
It leaves me aghast sometimes. I think, well, where's this coming from? And for someone to actually break down and cry because it's the evidence of a granddad, and his granddad describes himself, how he died, and what people were doing around his deathbed at the time, etc., and what the weather was like, perhaps, what time he died, and other things. It's coming from somewhere. It's not coming from me.
Do you want to talk about NDEs at the moment?
Near-death experiences, yeah. I've known a few people who have what we call near-death experience, NDEs. And now, a book was written way years ago, around 1974, by Dr. Raymond Moody, and he was an American doctor, and he was finding that people who were resuscitated, brought back, were coming back with these wonderful stories of floating above their bodies, hearing what the surgeons were saying or doing, and things like that. And some of them actually went down what we called white tunnel lights, were met by their loved ones, and came to a point of no return. They were asked, did they want to cross that point of no return or go back to their bodies? And someone actually pleaded, well, I've got a daughter still on earth, I need to go back and look after her, things like that. Back and find herself in bodies. Now, A lot of people, sceptical people, say, well, it's just the mind closing down and bringing up protection things just to make the passing easier. Now, people have actually had near-death experiences and floated off into a waiting room and listened to their relatives arguing about the will. And have been resuscitated, come back and perhaps fallen out with the people, but quoting them word for word, I heard what you saw.
Yeah.
There are actually experiments going on where they're placing symbols or items up high on shelves so that these people float out of their body up to the ceiling, looking down, still attached to the silver cord, can see them and verify what's there when they're resuscitated and brought back.
And I mean, there's so many stories of NDEs. I know Larry Hagman, who was in JR in Dallas, and he was interviewed one day on a TV show, and they said to him, well, are you religious? And he goes, no, I'm spiritual. And they said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, I had an NDE. And he said, after that experience, he said, I came back a different person. So he said, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely sort of thing. A lot of people that do come back with a thirst for life, a cheerfulness, no fear of death, you know, and they're the nicest people you can actually meet. They're really laid back because there's no more fear anymore. You know, the biggest fear in our life is actually dying. What happens to me? Now we've got two choices. We can die and nothing becomes of us. It's just a void and we don't know nothing. We're dead. We're sawdust as such sort of thing. Or the second option is the world of spirit. Now, it makes sense to me to back the horse that's going to win. So therefore, if I'm dead and gone and I'm just dust, doesn't really matter, does it? But if there's a world of spirit and through my actions doing wrong things, I'm in trouble when I pass over to that.
Well, let's talk about karma, because a lot of people talk about karma. What's your take on karma, and is karma real?
Yeah. It's logical, really, cause and effect, action reaction as such.
So let's I mean, I'm a big believer of karma, and what I see is this is my own opinion, is that energy is neutral, and if you have an energy boomerang, if you throw out negative energy, it'll come back negative.
It's what you do with it.
It's what you do with it. So what's your take on that?
Well, most definitely, you know, if I punch you on the nose, you'll come back and punch me on the nose. If I leave you alone, you won't generally, will you, sort of thing. I suppose it's a daft analogy of it as such. But also with karma, I mean, people use karma, they do affirmations. Yes, that's brilliant. It can bring positivity into your life. But there may be times and situations that you need to go through hard and difficult times to grow as a person. Now, with a lot of the good mediums, we are told, and it's believed in spiritualism, they've had a hell of a life. They've been through so much because it gets them to the point, like when you join the army, they break you and remake you. It gets to the point where you can empathise, you've got the life skills, you've got the understanding, you've been through it. And it makes the link stronger with the spirit world as well.
Okay. And, you know, when if you go to a medium and they, you know, you've heard mediums saying, oh yeah, I understand. But if they've lost a loved one and the medium has never lost a loved one, so they can't really understand.
No.
But what you're saying is that you really have gone through hell and back.
A little bit about myself. I lost a partner, woke up in the morning, found her next to me. She died during the night. And that night she gave her a message from her ex-husband the weekend before she died. And he was nagging me to come through. I said, no, only when she asked, and she asked the weekend before. Now, it's pretty funny. I said, he's talking about pants and laughing. She said, he never wore pants, that's why he's laughing. And now he's talking about the brown watch with the gold strap. She goes, oh my God, I was looking in the back room the other day through the bits and pieces, and there was the last present he ever bought me, still in its wrapper, half opened, that watch. And now, a month after my partner died, I lost my mother. I've known unemployment, I've known homelessness, and many other things, you know. So I can empathise with people, what they're going through as such. Okay.
Let's take that question. Is there a question there which is interesting, actually? I think this is something that comes up. But go ahead, Steve, read it out there.
This is a question from the captain. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. The captain on TNS. And it's can you ask, Mark, what if your granny, I'm guessing if this is your granny came through, and her language wasn't English, if she only ever spoke Irish and you never have, I'm guessing would you be able to understand her?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's interpreted by the spirit guys, or it's shown symbolic, or you get the feeling and the knowing.
Okay, so it's not just about audio, they actually show you pictures as well.
Yeah,
and so
visually.
That's how you, visually, so that's how you'll do it. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know what this means, but go ahead, read it out anyway, Steve.
Yeah, this is one from our own chat. It's from RDJ3, and he or she is wondering, does Mark know of the Scole, SCOLE, experiments in the 90s?
Thank you very much, RDJ3. Not really. I haven't really gone that far studying that sort of thing, but obviously my mind's open, and I will sort of learn about it. Yeah.
And it's all about keeping an open mind.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's worthwhile if you have the money, or what's have the money, because some mediums charge, but for mediums that don't charge, or you can get to a spiritual centre, I would recommend getting the reading and just checking it out yourself. I mean, there's nothing like the evidence. Go and check it out yourself and see what you think. You know, and Mark.
It all depends how advanced the medium is, how developed they are as well, interpreting the messages that are coming in. You know, obviously, if someone's been in a development circle for 2 months, and they want to go out and do platform, they're not really ready. And a lot of them sadly do that these days. You know, you need to go through the school of hard knocks, through the college of developing a circle over a number of years to become the finished item, and even then you're refined. You're still learning. You don't stop learning until you go to the work spirit, and then beyond you keep learning.
Now there is a big spiritual training centre in Stansted, over near Stansted Airport.
Stansted Hall, yeah.
And they have weekends and weeks of training that you can go over there if you want. But again, it's all about money, and some people are tight. But what I'd recommend you do, if you are interested in developing your third eye, pineal gland, or you feel you have a gift, or you have something that you want to, you know, develop, just look into it. Go to a psychic fair, but try and get reputable. Try and get word of mouth mediums. Try and get mediums, especially over here in Ireland, because we don't have spiritual churches or centres. But try and get recommendations from people. You know, it's very hard if you just see somebody advertised in the paper and, you know, you ring them up and say, I want a reading. If you get a recommendation, it's going to be much better, Mark.
A word of warning with that. Now, in London, we have a lot of junk mail such, and I include junk mail as letters or cards coming through the door. Dr. Professor Mgungo, I can bring your loved one back. I can get you that job. I'm a spiritualist medium, etc., etc. You will go there and get a message. It will be a load of rubbish, basically, and they will say, well, I'm having trouble getting the message through because you've got an attachment. So you will pay them £50, say, for the reading, and they will say to you, I will remove the attachment for £200. It's a scam. It is a scam. So be aware and avoid things like that.
And obviously these people play on people who are vulnerable as well. So you have to be aware of that.
There is an act out, the Fraudulent Mediums Act, so that should cover people. And I don't know why the authorities haven't pressed down on this as such, because it's a scam.
Because there are people out there, like there's bad apples in every barrel, and you have to be on your guard.
There's people out that just want to make money out of people and exploit people, and that, in my opinion, is a no-no.
No, definitely not. Steve?
Alan, Mark, Mick is wondering, have you ever had any message of war?
No.
No. Could we just clarify as well that mediums are not fortune tellers?
Yeah. Although we can get things for the future, because spirit, there's no time in spirit, and they can look forward and back as such. And hidden law, perhaps it's hidden law, probable outcome, I don't know, but they can see you in a situation in the future. Now, when they give you a time scale, forget it.
Yeah.
Because in the world of spirit, there is no time, and they can see it happening, and soon to them is 7 years down the road. Soon to you is 7 weeks down the road. Yeah. But it may be, it happens that quick, but just beware of that, please. So don't get caught up in anxiety. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And when it gets to that point, you've got free will. They may say, well, you're going to meet a lovely lady, etc. in a certain time. You're going to go and meet her, and you don't like her. You've got the free will to say, no, sorry, I don't want this.
Exactly. You might be told you're going to buy a red car, but, you know, in the end you might buy a blue car.
Yeah, you've got choice, and that choice needs to be respected.
Exactly. And the other thing is about the whole time thing. One thing that we've talked about before is that if you were in the middle of the Sahara Desert and you didn't have a watch, you wouldn't know what time it was. You could take a guess, but you wouldn't know what time it was because you didn't have a watch. And I think, you know, as we talked about it before, spirit world works the same way. That because there's no time over there, they'll give you a rough idea, but they're not really sure because there's no time over on their side.
Let me just quote something from out of the Bible. I know I shouldn't say the Old Testament, but it says, a day to the Lord is like 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord, sort of thing. So think about that, what it's talking about, the time scale of things, you know.
Exactly,
It's a biblical explanation.
Okay, Steve, do we have any questions coming in there?
No, none at the moment. But just a comment, if you will, about the whole thing about time. If you know, like, I mean, sometimes you'll have a memory or you'll remember something, and you're waving your finger at me. Okay, there's a question. Okay, fine.
There's a few there.
Yeah, but sometimes when you remember something, you go, "Geez," like for argument's sake, my daughter, as you know, Samantha's 12. And we were just kind of discussing. We were holding our new arrival there a couple of days ago, and we just kind of said, "Wow, it only seems like yesterday Samantha was this age." But I mean, technically, time is something that we measure, but in the whole spirit world, it's, as you say, it's kind of instantaneous.
Yeah.
So I can flash back 12 years, and it seems like it was only yesterday.
I know what you mean.
I'm obviously working on a higher level.
No, I just go back to physical mediums.
Well, we've got a couple of questions that we're going to get to. Let's get to the questions, because obviously people have a query over it as well.
Right.
Right. Mick just said that how it works.
You read my questions now.
I'm just going to read one. How it works is one thing, but what is said is what matters. Surely. Yeah, I think Mark, you should explain that if you get a message from Spirit. And it might not be good news. A real medium who's trained won't just blurt it out.
No. We use tact and diplomacy. And some spirit people come through swearing, believe it or not, because that's their personality. And the personality is intact when you pass to the world of spirit. And it's important to remember that. And when you meet them again, they will kind of be the same people that you knew them as. And they will be in new bodies. There's a thing called an etherical body. It's a copy of this body. Now, should you lose a limb, or like me, your hair, when you go to the world of spirit, you generally go over as with that limb back again, or your hair back in. I'm joking, of course, with the hair, but you go over complete.
But obviously, and the other thing that you said to me as well is that if Spirit did turn around and the message was, well, the bad news is that they might get a disease and die that year, you don't turn around and say that to them. You'd say, listen, this year really enjoy yourself and have really good fun, because giving negative information is not really good in a reading, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always get it's usually good news most of the time.
Most of the time, anyway.
Positivity.
Steve.
Yes, I'm reading my own questions now, aren't we?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Right, these two questions are from TNS. One is from Donald. He must be Scottish. Donald, has Mark ever come across books by John G. Fuller?
Possibly, but I've read so many books in the past that, my mind's actually in a fog with all this.
Okay, and the next one from Family Jimmy and Maggie. What is it that happens when the connection between the glass and the Ouija board is broken that causes a person to be possessed?
Never heard of a person becoming possessed through a broken glass. You should always do spirit board or Ouija board, call it what you will, with prayer before to God and prayer after, shall I say, to God, and invoke your spirit guides for protection. You never know.
Can I just say, just quickly, what we were talking about today, what you were saying also? Because I know there's so much to talk about, sometimes we forget that a spirit board is only a physical demonstration if mediums want to use it. It's nothing got to do with the development. You won't develop using a spirit board. It's only purely a tool to demonstrate. It's
more psychic in a minute. It verges on psychic and physical mediumship. In a way.
So, it's not something that you'd go out and use because it's only purely for demonstration purposes. It's not really for development because you won't develop with it.
Well, it's like a thing what we call pendulum dowsing and things like that. It's more old hat there generally these days. But going back to physical mediumship, now years and years ago they were quite popular, the seances with physical mediumship, until what we call mental mediumship come in, which is the clairvoyances, etc. But it's been revived up to a point, and there's an organisation called the Noah's Ark Society for Physical Mediumship. These actually help people who want to start doing physical development circles as such, and they're worth getting in touch with, especially if you live in the UK, but I should imagine Ireland will help you as well. That's the Noah Ark Society for Physical Mediumship.
Okay, brilliant. Steve?
Yeah, this is a good one from Chris. If there's no time in the spirit world, could I give a message to myself?
There's time on Earth. Does that answer your question?
Does that answer your question, Chris? Well, I'll tell you what, you probably have to die for it.
You're bound by time on Earth, as such, sort of thing. But,
because we're in a 3D.
Yeah.
A 3D world. Okay, well, that's brilliant. Well, we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to have to get Amanda in from the Sovereign Indo. We're going to be giving Amanda a ring shortly in a few minutes. But with the 10 minutes, obviously I want to put a positive, talk about on a positive way for people. There's a lot going on in the world at the moment, Mark, and a lot of people are feeling down. You know, there's people that have committed suicide. What happens to people that commit suicide? What happens to them?
Well, unlike some religions that say people commit suicide are cast in hell, this world's hell, to be honest, what you go through, hell on earth.
Yeah.
They're nursed and looked after in the world of spirit. Now, Doris Stokes often spoke about these people, and what happens. They go to sort of places where they're healed back with TLC, etc. And a little bit about Doris Stokes as well. She actually received a letter during the Second World War saying her husband was dead, killed in action, and a father's voice in her head who had been past the spirit said, "No, he's alive, you're going to hear about it." A few months later at Christmas, she got another telegram saying he was alive. And that's how she started down the road of mediumship and such. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So people who commit suicide, as I say, some religions probably say that it's a wrong thing to do and all this. You're going to go to hell.
Well, if somebody commits suicide, they got problems, haven't they? And we should help them.
Mental,
and you're not thinking straight, and you're doing the things that are out of personality, sort of thing. So it's all about love, isn't it?
It is, yeah. At the end of the day,
not hate and punishment. It's about love, and people forget love is pure love drives out all fear.
Well, there's two emotions in the world, love and fear. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
You know, Steve, do you have any questions there?
No, I just...
you want to say something?
I just want to say, just something Mark said there about pure love drives out all fear, and I think that's very important. And I know Mark said it very, very quickly, but I think that's something that, it's true. Pure love, it does drive out all fear, because as you say, and you've said this time and time again, that there are only two emotions, love and fear.
Yeah, and, for me anyway, personally, I don't watch much TV, but if I do watch TV, I'm always watching things that are uplifting or funny or enjoyable or I'm learning from it. I can't watch any of these dodgy movies or programs that are negative. I just can't. It's just, I don't want to go down that kind of negative road. Now, on the same note, I will say in the same note that, you have to understand your enemy, you have to study your enemy. If you want to beat them, you understand them. So I have gone down. For 5 years, I went down the negative path, and understood the New World Order and what they were doing, and all the kind of Bohemian Grove and the satanic stuff. And even now and again, I do kind of look at that stuff because I need to understand who we're dealing with. But on a day-to-day basis, I would purely be focusing on the positive and not the negative. And I think it's important that we all do that.
Yeah. Definitely, most definitely,
Because this stuff, this information, this New World Order stuff, and what we're dealing with, could eat you up. It can eat, so you really need to get your downtime. And maybe meditate, Mark. I think probably get people at least get into learning to meditate at least.
And plus, after meditation, if you're not doing it for spiritual reasons, of connecting or growing spiritually, you often come back with a nice buzz and you feel relaxed. It's good for you. Yeah,
exactly. Somebody said here, Crown Copyright. Alan watches uplifting TV, Babe Station. No, not that. I remember years ago they had Topless Darts on live TV, but that's a long time ago. But no, you have to kind of keep. You definitely have to keep positive and keep uplifted there. And I don't know. Is there a question there from Bluebell, Steve?
I don't know if it was a question, but I think it was just more of a comment. Do you remember the film The Road? Dear God, it was depressing. No, I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I seen the movie there. I was told to say, you should watch this movie. It's all about, the apocalypse and stuff, after the apocalypse. And I did watch it, and I thought, wow, that's a depressing movie. I don't know why I watched it, but somebody said, you should watch it. It's very good. So, I'm sorry I did. I wouldn't recommend it.
Right. Another one just in, from the Master Splinter. Wow. If Mark believes in the Bible, can you ask him what he thinks about this verse?
Is this the Witch of Endor, is it?
Leviticus 19:31 or 29 minutes to 8. That can't be right. No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Leviticus 19:31. Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God.
Well, it's a bit of a contradiction because Jesus Christ was one of the best spiritualist mediums there ever were. I mean, predictions, things like by the time the cock will crow 3 times, Peter, you would deny me 3 times,
And he was a healer.
And a healer. So come on now.
It's a bit contradictory in terms there, and maybe, of course, at the end of the day, because if people turn to mediums and he turned away from religion, then they wouldn't make as much money as they have.
If you work in love, you connect with love, and you connect with higher spirits in that love sort of thing. And unfortunately these days with Hollywood, if it's something to do with spirit, it's something scary with 5 arms, 10 legs that they'll eat for breakfast.
Yeah.
That's not what it's all about.
See, I do think...
It's ignorance to think that way.
I think so. I think intention is everything. I mean, we're all intelligent enough to know what's wrong and what's right, what's good and bad, and intention is everything. If you're going to do something, are you doing it with the right intention, maybe to help somebody, or are you doing it for pure selfish greed, and then, whatever your mind says, your soul knows exactly whether it's right and wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no messages ever come through that are hateful or telling you to do this, jump off a bridge, things like that. They come through with loving messages, etc., etc., and that is so important. It's all about love, helping people, and if there was a bit more of that in the world, it would be a better place to live, most definitely.
Well, I have to say, a quick mention to a book I did read years ago called Conversations with God by John and Neil Donald Walsh, I think his name is, and he did say something like, in some societies not of this earth, that it's actually the more you help, the more successful you are. Right, not the more you have, but the more you help.
I mean, imagine if you got a favourite aunt, she goes away to Australia. You say to her, when you get there, give me a call. You hear nothing for 3 weeks, all of a sudden the phone rings. I'm alright, I've arrived safely. It's the same with spirit messages. I'm alive, I'm alright, I love you, and I'm in the world of spirit, and I'll be keeping an eye on you and loving you and looking after you. That's the same with mediumship and messages from those in the world of spirit. They're sending you a postcard from heaven.
Exactly, that's brilliant. Okay, well, we have 5 minutes, so... you have another question there, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this will probably be the last question now. From Bluebell, can you ask Mark why the messages are cryptic?
Sometimes they're shown as symbolic, and spirit, it's their way of trying to get through. Now, on the earth we have development circles, we're learning to become mediums and contact the world of spirit, in love, of course, and that sort of thing. And I'm sure in the world of spirit, there's the same kind of thing there, where they're trying to get back and bring information to us. They either show it symbolically, you hear it, you see it, etc., etc., and it's just the way they work. We know when we get over the other side, anyway.
And do you think that also, depending on the person who's over there, depends on their method?
Yes.
Because obviously you get some people who might have been, say, example, highly educated for one reason or another, so they might find it hard to put across what they have to say.
Show you,
and that's why it makes it difficult for the medium to...
Well, we interpret what's coming through very much so. Now, sometimes the personality will come through and the fella in spirit is chatting and won't stop talking. And that's the sort of person he was when he was alive on the earth. And sometimes you get spirit communication with the person, you're trying to get the information out of them, your guide's working with you, etc. And it's hard. But that's reflecting the type of person they were, secretive, and they didn't want to know anybody knowing their business as such. Yeah. And you get confirmation from the people receiving the message, yes, that's what he or she was like when they were here.
Brilliant. Well, Mark, thanks for taking the time out and coming down to OYM and talking to us about the spiritual side. Tell us about your... well, I'll pass it off to Steve. Steve will do the roundup.
You read me questions, you can do you do the roundup.
No, because you're going to be doing the Skype later. Go on.
Are you going to be what?
You're going to be pressing the buttons later for our next...
pressing the buttons, right. Okay, Mark, it's very, very... very good information, a lot of intelligent questions come on the chat, and I've just thanked everybody. Yeah. One of the listeners has actually sent in, it's the RDJ3, has sent in a link to the experiment documentary, the Skull experiment documentary, the question that came up earlier, so I did say I'd pass that link on to you. But can you just give us your website, or if you have any other, like a YouTube channel, or any other way where people can find out more about Marc Impey and what you do and who you are and what you're working on?
Yeah, my website is www.circleofwhitelight.com, and that's a one word, circleofwhitelight.com. As such, I can be reached on Marc Medium, MARC Medium 1 at yahoo.co.uk. Also,
I'm trying to type this. Marc MEDIUM, Marc Medium 1.
Yeah, MARC Medium 1 at yahoo.co.uk. Also, some years ago we made a wonderful video, A Guide to Spiritualism. It's available through Circle of White Light website. It goes into every detail. It goes into chakras, what are orbs, development circles, what are angels, circle leaders, spirit guides, guardian angels, archangels, angels of all type basically. And there's a lovely interview with Sue Drower and Glenda Hope right at the end. Two lovely ladies from Slough Spiritualist Church.
Brilliant.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Okay, and that's available on your website, is it?
Most definitely. Can I just say thank you very much for having me in the studio? It's been some time, and it's lovely to actually broadcast across the world and to America as well, and to be here in Ireland. So I look forward to a pint of Guinness later on.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
No, we will do definitely get the drink in, and thanks for all the work you do and all the people you help. You know, from a spiritual point of view.
Serving spirit and helping people.
You know, and because people can be vulnerable, and you respect that, and you help these people.
There is an etiquette and a way of living.
I will say, for a lot of mediums, there are ethics out there for mediums, and you just have to find the right medium. Not a materialistic medium, but somebody that has ethics and is concerned about you and will give you a good reading. So, you know, check it out. But what we're going to do is going to go to a musical break at the moment. And when we come back, we're going to try and get Amanda on and quickly talk about the Sovereign Independent gig. I'll be back after this. If you're ready, Steve, when you're ready there.
Oh, press the button right now.
Okay.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com, CNSradio.ning.com and ICRadioNetwork.com.
And we're back. A little bit of Marc Bolan and T-Rex there. That was Cosmic Dancer. Alan.
Right, okay, we have Amanda on the line at the moment. Amanda's involved with the Sovereign Independent, and they have an event coming up. So Amanda just wants to tell us about the event, who's coming on, when it is, and all the bits and pieces. Good evening, Amanda, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you, Alan. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Now, tell us about this Sovereign Independent event that's happening. Tell us who's on it, when it is, and any pricing and stuff like that.
Okay, it's the official launch of the new look 7th edition of the Sovereign Independent, which is coming out on Friday. And we're holding a launch in the Gland Centre in Manorhamilton, County Leitrim. Next Friday, that's the 26th. We've got guest speakers, Aisling Fitzgibbons, aka the Girl Against Fluoride. Many may know that Aisling has taken legal action against the Irish government to prevent them from adding dangerous chemicals such as fluoride to the water supply until they've been proven for safe for human consumption. So Aisling's going to come and give a talk. We're also delighted to have Ben Gilroy from Direct Democracy Ireland. Direct Democracy Ireland, Ireland's newest and most promising political service. And for those that don't know, implementing direct democracy in Ireland returns the power to the people to call referendums, instigate legislation and recall representatives who fail to perform. Now, I'm looking at setting up a constituency office here in Sligo, North Leitrim, so we're delighted to have Ben come along, and there will be a questions and answers session after Ben gives his presentation as well. And we're also having the wonderful Mr. Thomas Sheridan, artist, author, public speaker and independent researcher of psychopaths. So Thomas is coming to give a talk as well, and we'll be signing copies of his book, Puzzling People and Defeated Demons. So that's it really, where people are coming I've been promoting it now for the last few weeks, and there's people coming from all over the country. So it's going to be a really good night. And if anybody wants to get in touch or find any more information, I can give you my address at the end of this.
Brilliant stuff.
Or telephone number at the end of this.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be a really good night, and we've been working hard on the Sovereign Independent all weekend. We're just putting the final touches to it now. A lot of your listeners out there might already know about the paper, but for those who don't, it's Ireland's #1 truth paper. And it's going to be great, and we're hoping to go absolutely to every four corners of Ireland with the paper now whenever it comes out on the 26th. So if anybody wants to get copies of the paper, they can contact us through the website, or they can email me, sales@sovereignindependent.com. You know, there may be groups and organisations that want to distribute the paper throughout as well, so they can get in contact with me, but it'll be all up on the website anyhow.
Brilliant. And I think what we'll do is we'll probably get a few copies off you, yourself and Dave as well, for OYM, so people can actually purchase it through OYM as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll be selling the newspapers through, the likes of OYM and different
websites and
groups
outlets as
and
well.
websites, exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, is the actual new look issue 7. Is it a broadsheet or tabloid?
It's tabloid, Alan.
Hey,
it's tabloid, and
hey.
it's got a very, tabloidy feel to it, and it's sort of a mixture between. Yeah, it's different to the previous ones, yeah, and we're tackling a lot of topical issues that are going on at the moment. Obviously, we're going to feature Ashley Nansden in it, and there's a big section on the property tax, which is on the tips of everybody's tongue at the moment. So, there's information on what we can do about that and not paying it. There's all these ridiculous things that are going on. So it's a tamed down version of what the Sovereign and Independent has been to date for the first 6 editions. And I suppose, there's a lot of people out there that have read the Sovereign and Independent and are familiar with it. And I would say it's possibly the type of copy that those people can give to their friends and family, maybe that are not as awake to a lot of what is going on than we are, So we're very excited about it, and it's going to be good.
No, brilliant. I'm actually looking at the image of it now, just the advert of where you're going to be, and I'll just mention it again: the Gland Centre, Manor Hamilton, County Leitrim, and all you're asking for is a donation. There's no fee, but a donation at the end would be nice.
No fee, Alan. Okay, we need to cover costs. And it's a €5 donation. If people are struggling, that's okay too. Come along. We're not going to turn anybody away. So, that's fine.
And it's just to cover the cost, exactly. And it's great. I mean, if you can, I mean, most people hopefully can afford €5, and I reckon the information you're going to get with the 3 people there. I mean, we've had Thomas on the show, we've had Ben on the show, and Aisling has been on the show briefly. She was supposed to be on a couple of weeks ago, but due to emergency she couldn't make it. So we might get her on. We're going to get her on shortly, but she might be on quicker than she thinks, depending on whether the guest next week can actually make it, which I'm going to be talking about at the end of the show. But it's good to see. It is brilliant that, number one, you've made a tabloid paper. That's brilliant. I mean, the broadsheet was great, but it was just a little bit too big. So well done on doing that for the new look. And obviously we'll try and promote it, because I don't think people, I still have met people who weren't aware that we had newspapers out there in Ireland educating people about what's going on. So obviously, the more publicity we can give to Solvindo and other tabloid papers, the better. Yeah,
Amanda, we did say before, and I'll say it again here tonight, that if anyone is listening, if they can pop into a newsagent and ask your newsagent for a copy of the Sovereign Independent, and if they haven't got it, ask them, can they get it, at the end of the day.
Put the pressure on, definitely.
Absolutely. This is exactly the same way that I'm working and thinking. I mean, I'm not going down the normal route of how you distribute papers, how the morning papers get into the shop. You go to a company and they throw a bundle of Sovereign Independence into the likes of Eason's or somewhere. Nobody's going to pick them up off the shelves. I mean, and this paper is about getting the truth out, and shopkeepers and retail outlets and news agents and distributors are all going to work with us to make sure that people know exactly what it is that we're putting out here. This is really important information, and, I think it will give people hope, because the Sovereign Independent is solution-based as well, and that's what we need to see. A lot of the information that we know is, it's quite daunting and can be frightening to some when you're waking up to a lot of things first, but, it doesn't have to be that way, and this is what the Sovereign Independent is like. It's positive, and it's hope for the future, because this country is just in a terrible way now.
Terrible, yeah. It's one word I'd use.
It's shocking.
Definitely with what's going on. Well, listen, Amanda, thanks for coming on the show. And again, we'll just say it's this Friday, which is the 26th of April. So this Friday, down in Leitrim. So
in the Gland Centre at Manor Hamilton, County Leitrim, and it starts at 8 o'clock, and God knows what time it'll go on to.
Brilliant stuff, exactly.
So, I don't mean that, but afterwards, there's an awful lot of people coming from all over, so, it'll be quite a sociable event and good for networking and meeting other groups and organisations as well. So, there's going to be all that side of things as well.
That'd be brilliant. Are you going to do a DVD of it by any chance?
Well, I'm looking actually for somebody who would possibly video it at the moment, so I'm trying to hopefully try and find somebody's video, because I wouldn't mind putting it up on YouTube as well. because I think it's going to be very good. And I asked Thomas if he needed anything for the event, and he said he needed a mic and 2 rolls of toilet roll, and he said it'll be worth videoing. So,
okay.
Whatever that means.
Okay, no worries. Well, listen, Amanda, thanks for coming on and letting us know about that. And obviously we put it out there. It's this Friday, so if you can afford it and if you have time, pop down there. But thanks for coming on the show, Amanda.
Okay, can I just say one thing, Alan? I may as well say it now as well, but we're also going to be looking for distributors for the paper nationwide. So if there's anyone out there that would be interested in distributing the paper, I will be giving full sales training on how this paper can be and will be distributed throughout the different counties. And there is a potential commission-based earnings as well. So it's getting the truth out and earning a few quid as well. So if there's anybody out there, they can just get in contact and I'll tell them the rest.
Fantastic idea. So there's a potential for people. If you want to earn a couple of quid, contact Amanda on 087 797 6613, and then you might be able to help getting the truth out there and earn a few quid at the same time.
And if you earn a $5, you can get down to the event.
Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. Okay, Amanda, that's great. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll talk to you again. Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks very much.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so that was Amanda from the Sovereign Independent, and there's a show down in County Leitrim this Friday, 26th, 8 p.m. Ben Gilroy and Aisling Fitzgibbon, the girl against fluoride, and Thomas Sheridan, the author of Puzzling People. So, the labyrinth of the psychopath. And obviously the tabloid size is brilliant, and it looks good in colour and everything else. So I'm looking forward to having a look at that and having a read and seeing what information's in there. So thanks, Amanda, for coming on. Now next week we're hoping to have, I don't know, we've no confirmation with this yet, and we're hoping to have a lady called Tammy Pepperman on to talk about the OPPT, which is this People's Trust that everybody's talking about. But we have no confirmation just yet from Tammy, so she may or may not be on, depending on what happens during the week. But we're going to have somebody on anyway. So
even if it's just the two of us shooting the breeze.
Even if it's the two of us telling you what we did during the week, it's probably not going to be much. But Marc is still here, you know, in the story, and he just in the studio, sorry, and he just wants to say a quick.
Did you say in the story?
In the story. I don't know. I'm just my head's all over the place. Right, okay, I need something, alright. Marc, you just want to say a quick thank you and goodbye. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me on stage.
Turn up the right mic, Alan.
Hang on a minute. Go ahead.
Thank you for letting me come on the station, be able to reach the world, America, etc. sort of thing. I want to say thank you to all those in England who wish me best of luck, including Sue Ann Ward, Chris Forster, Voodoo Mick and other people as such, and thank you very much. And also to my development circle, Emma, and all the rest. Thank you very much.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, Steve, so during the week, okay, next week you're going to run the show on your own.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even.
Let's see how you cope.
No, I'm happy pressing the buttons.
Yeah, I bet you are.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, can we just say before we go, anyone who hasn't got your bumper stickers, they are moving, so you know, don't leave it till the last minute. That's the OYM Ireland I'm Awake bumper sticker, 5 for a fiver. So just, you know, keep that in mind and get one on your car or whatever you want to stick. I don't know, get the word out there.
And obviously, you know, donations, or if you don't have much money, then the ads on our website, if you click on them, we get a few cents, and that all helps contribute to funding OYM and just keeping the engine going, really.
Keeping you in the lifestyle that you've become
the luxury lifestyle, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be down talking to the bank next week, as half the country are doing at the moment, probably in more situations, but yeah, it's hitting all of us, you know. So I mean, nobody's immune from it. Now, some people might still have the I'm OK Jack, but look, they're a domino in a line of dominoes, and they'll eventually get hit. Now, I know there's talk about the government doing one or two things. John Borton turned around today or the other day saying that we think that Ireland have had enough of this austerity. Yeah, too bloody right, John. Bit bloody late turning around and saying it now. I mean, we had enough of this 5 years ago.
Yeah, she's only saying that now because I think you've probably seen during the week that some people were protesting outside her home. They set up some banners and they had a little bit of a protest, and they took some pictures and put them up on Facebook So, yeah, I think Joan is starting to realise, because, as they say, it has come to her hall door, and I think some people were protesting. That's kind of short, like, for protesting. Pressing.
Put your teeth on.
Yeah, they were outside. It was, I think it was Alan Shatter's home today, and they were there's a very funny video on the internet. I think it's the Anti-Eviction Task Force. They were protesting outside Mr. Shatter, I believe it was Mr. Shatter's house, and they were told that if they stood there protesting, they would be arrested. So there's actually a video of them all holding their signs, and they're just taking little tiny steps. They're all got 10 steps to the left and 10 steps to the right. So therefore, they're not standing still; they are moving. So they couldn't be touched.
Now, apparently, I got a phone call very quickly.
Apparently, you got a phone
call. Apparently, I got my phone. I got a phone call off my mother the other night. Now, I don't have RTE or Serview because I'm not rich. So, but apparently those comedians on RTE, on either the Late Late Show or one of these programs, comedians taking the pee out of the politicians and the property charge. And so, if anybody has a copy of that, or you can put it on YouTube, I'd love to see it. Because they were actually, having to go with the politicians, and any good comedy like that is always good. Anyway, I would have liked to see it, but we don't have RTE here. Why am I paying the TV license? I don't know. Shouldn't be paying the TV license at all. I think that's another thing on the list that has to be done.
You're paying your TV. Stop.
Don't even go there. No, listen. There's a situation there we can't go into. I'll explain to you later.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah, the woman that has to be obeyed. You know yourself. You know, Steve. You know that person.
I know. I've got one as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Well, listen. We let people go, but listen. Have a safe week. If there's any news, keep sending over your links.
Finishing early tonight, are we?
Not early. No, not really. Any reason why you want to finish early? Look, we've 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, I don't know who's on with TNS, but yeah, if you fancy more of the same, or if you some more light-hearted, good old information and entertainment, is tnsradio.ning.com. You can stay there. Vin will be in the hot seat at 9 when we go. Doing his bits and pieces. Yeah. Okay, well, listen, from myself, Alan James, take it easy. Stay safe. Mark, thanks again for being with us. And hopefully we'll see you next week back in Studio 1 as usual. Okay, right, and I'll echo that. Thank Mark as well for coming along. It's been a brilliant show, an absolutely fantastic evening. The 2 hours have literally flown. I've enjoyed every minute of it. So now, without further ado, I'll say do it all again next week, and thanks to everyone. Good night. Goodbye. Open your mind.